So in two worlds, when a struggling farmer stopped to help a stranded city girl with her broken-down car, he thought it was just a simple act of kindness, until he learned her last name and realized his life was about to change forever. Diced. August sun blazed mercilessly across the prairie as Daniel wiped sweat from his brow, surveying the golden wheat that stretched endlessly toward the horizon. 4 generations of his family had worked this land, their calloused hands and weathered faces testament to the unforgiving beauty of farm life. As he loaded the last bales onto his truck, the rumble of an expensive engine broke the rural silence. A sleek silver sports car sat disabled on the dusty county road, steam rising from its hood like incense. Behind the wheel sat a woman whose pristine appearance seemed as out of place as a diamond in a cornfield. Her silk blouse remained immaculate despite the heat, and her perfectly styled hair suggested she'd never experienced a day of physical labor. Daniel pulled his truck to the shoulder and approached cautiously. The woman looked up through the windshield, her eyes reflecting a mixture of frustration and embarrassment that seemed oddly vulnerable beneath her polished exterior. "Engine trouble?" he asked, though the answer was obvious. "I'm afraid so," she replied, stepping out of the vehicle with practiced grace. "I'm Sophia, and I'm completely out of my element here." Her honesty surprised him. Most city folk he'd encountered tried to mask their discomfort with false bravado. "Daniel," he introduced himself, already reaching for his tools. "Let's see what we're dealing with." As he worked beneath the hood, Sophia watched with genuine curiosity rather than impatience. She asked thoughtful questions about the engine, about his farm visible in the distance, about the rhythm of rural life that seemed so foreign yet appealing to her metropolitan sensibilities. "You know," she said as he finished the temporary repair, "I've spent my entire adult life surrounded by people who want something from me. It's refreshing to meet someone who's simply helping because it's the right thing to do." Daniel paused, studying her face more carefully. Beneath the expensive makeup and designer accessories, he glimpsed something unexpected, a profound loneliness that no amount of wealth could remedy. "Sounds like you're carrying a heavy burden," he observed. "You have no idea," she admitted quietly. "When you come from a certain background, it becomes impossible to distinguish between genuine relationships and calculated opportunities. Everyone sees dollar signs before they see you as a person." "That must feel like living in a beautiful cage," Daniel mused, surprising himself with his insight. Sophia's eyes widened slightly at his understanding. "Exactly like that," she whispered. Over the following weeks, Daniel discovered that Sophia had become a regular presence in his life. She would appear at his farm driving different rental vehicles, always armed with plausible explanations for her visits. She claimed to be researching sustainable agriculture, or seeking inspiration for a documentary about rural America, or simply needing respite from urban pressures. Each visit extended longer than the last. She would position herself on his wraparound porch while he maintained equipment, her questions evolving from polite curiosity to genuine engagement. She wanted to understand the generational knowledge required to coax life from soil, the delicate balance between hope and pragmatism that defined agricultural existence, the satisfaction that came from creating something tangible with dedication and determination. "You've never actually told me what your family does," Daniel mentioned one evening as they watched the sunset transform his wheat fields into an ocean of liquid gold. Sophia's silence stretched so long that Daniel wondered if she'd heard him. Finally, she spoke with obvious reluctance. "My father owns Montgomery Technologies. You've probably never heard of it." Daniel's coffee mug nearly slipped from his grip. Montgomery Technologies dominated global markets, their innovations shaping how billions of people communicated and conducted business. Thomas Montgomery's name appeared regularly in financial headlines, his company valued in the hundreds of billions. "Sophia," he began. "Please," she interrupted desperately, "don't let this change how you see me. For the first time in my adult life, someone knows me simply as Sophia, not as Thomas Montgomery's heiress, not as a networking opportunity, not as a stepping stone to corporate connections, just me." Daniel set down his mug and studied her carefully, seeing past the revelation to the woman who had spent weeks genuinely engaging with his world. You're still the same person who's been sitting on this porch asking insightful questions and helping me shell peas. Your father's fortune doesn't alter your character, at least not in my eyes. 2 months later, Daniel stood in his kitchen clutching the foreclosure notice that had arrived with the morning mail. Despite 18-hour workdays, despite selling machinery that had served his family for decades, despite every sacrifice and strategy he could devise, he was about to lose the land that represented 4 generations of dreams and determination. He was still staring at the devastating document when Sophia arrived for her customary visit. "Daniel, what's happened?" she asked, immediately recognizing his distress. Wordlessly, he handed her the notice. She read it twice, her complexion growing ashen with each word. "How much money do you need?" she asked without hesitation. "Absolutely not," Daniel replied firmly. "How much?" "I won't accept your money, Sophia. I refuse to become another person exploiting your family's wealth." "What if I'm not offering because of my family's resources?" she asked softly. "What if I'm offering because of what you've given me? You've shown me what it feels like to be valued for my thoughts and contributions rather than my inheritance. You've treated me like I had something meaningful to offer beyond financial assets. Do you understand how extraordinary that is in my world?" Daniel looked into her eyes, recognizing the same vulnerability he'd noticed during their first encounter on that dusty road. "There's something else," Sophia continued, her voice gaining strength. "I don't want to simply rescue your farm. I want to become part of it, part of this life you've built if you'll allow me to stay." "Sophia, you don't comprehend what you're suggesting," Daniel protested. "This isn't some romanticized fantasy of country living. It's backbreaking labor, financial uncertainty, and more disappointments than victories." "I've experienced financial certainty and emotional uncertainty my entire life," she replied with quiet conviction. "I'd rather face the opposite." 6 months later, Daniel stood in the exact location where he'd first discovered Sophia's disabled vehicle. Now she stood beside him, her designer wardrobe replaced by practical work boots and denim, her once manicured hands now bearing calluses earned through honest labor. "Any regrets?" he asked, watching her survey their thriving fields with obvious satisfaction. "About abandoning my previous life?" She considered the question carefully. "None whatsoever. About falling in love with a farmer too stubborn to accept assistance gracefully? That's still being negotiated." Daniel laughed, drawing her closer. "Your father still refuses to speak with you." "He'll eventually understand," she said confidently. "Someday he'll realize that I didn't compromise my standards by marrying you. I discovered the life I was always meant to live." As they walked toward the farmhouse, Daniel reflected on life's unpredictable transformations. Sometimes the most profound changes begin with the simplest gesture, stopping to help a stranger, looking beyond surface appearances to discover someone's true character, having the courage to trust that genuine love can bridge seemingly impossible divides between different worlds. Ultimately, their story wasn't about her wealth or his heritage. It was about 2 people finding in each other exactly what they'd been seeking throughout their lives: authentic acceptance, meaningful purpose, and the kind of love that deepens through shared effort and mutual respect.